That's what a large subset of people, when they go to South Beach, especially if it's around a big, Super Bowl, F1 race, anything like that. Like, how one, in the way that you build and design, like what's the top 3 to 5 things that when you're looking at, because the other thing is too, and I'm sure I'm not telling you anything you don't know, you'll see some of these nightclubs that are on top for 2.5 years, and then dude, it just takes a fucking nosedive, bro.
Yeah.
How do you, one, when you're laying it out and trying to figure out, how do you try to design to keep that longevity, or do you just know it's kind of an in and out thing and you just have to listen to your timing?
I think it's both. It depends on your approach, right? I mean, there are locations that like, hey man, this is going to be a 5-year pump and dump because we know the real estate. We don't own it.
Yep.
And then there's, I want to say one of the most famous nightclubs in the planet. My family owned in Miami we sold it in year 16.
What was it?
It's called Club Space. So it was the 24-hour liquor license, which that clearly gave us an advantage over everybody. But honestly, it's the same thing, answer I'm going to tell you with work. Every experience. So you got to understand that a nightclub, every night you put on an experience for people. And every experience is an onion, man. It's got layers and layers and layers and layers to it, right? So you got to understand the layers of people and where they come from. How do you get them into that room to enjoy? Because nobody wants to walk into an empty place.
No.
Period. So you're so if we're gonna think of the first group of people, like the masses, if you have a big place, you got to figure out a way to get them in there. And there's incentivizing on getting people through the door to kind of fill up the pit, if you will, right? And then from there, you got to understand, and a lot of that may be, dude, I've put the right entertainment, right? Whether it's a DJ or a band. But it can't just be DJs and band. Like, man, do you have fucking acrobats? Do you have people, dancers dancing? Like, it's got to be oohs and ahs from every second you walk in, because essentially you are creating a false sense of reality for everybody that walks in through that door. Right?
That's actually a great comment, a false sense of reality. And I got to think, when you're starting those, build out and lighting has to be, so paid attention to, and probably one of your larger investments.
Without a doubt. Lighting and sound is probably the 2 largest investments. Yep. Yeah. And it's massive. And then it's Broadway every night. So how do you build that false sense of reality? And then how do you subconsciously convince everybody, all that money you earned all week, you're going to leave it with me in the next 5 hours. And I'm not a casino, right? I'm going to create an atmosphere for you that, whether it's, if you're a single dude, I'm going to make sure that I have deals with every modeling agency in the city where all their girls get to come in and drink for free, because I'm going to have this place a ratio to 3 women for every guy, because that guy's going to spend money for 9 women. He's going to do it all night. And they come for free. They party for free. The dude has a blast spending all the money on him. And then the next thing you know, that creates 20 more dudes that want to do exactly what he wants to do. So you're building the next layer of VIP customers that are adding serious dollar per capita to the bill.
Yeah, well, he flies back the next day to New York City, and he tells all the guys at his hedge fund, bro, next time you get drawn down to Miami, you freaking got to go here.
Yeah.
And then, awesome place, nothing but dimes. We got to roll.
Yeah. And then you got to understand how to provide actually the products that they want. It's not about hey, let me serve you cheap shit. You got to understand the persona that's actually there doing that. So I need to make sure I have in inventory the products that they need. The margins are ridiculous because, you're selling a bottle of Tito, right? We all know the cost of Tito's, right? Tito's cost so $15-20, but we're selling it to you for $500.
Yep. Because
you better make that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but that $500, boy, it better come with some great service. You know what I mean? So the waitress that's dropping it off better be a 10. You know what I mean? Plus the service is you don't have to think about anything. They're pouring you and all your friends drinks. before you even ask a question, they already have the things there for you. Like
Yeah.
the answer is yes. What's next? Like you don't even got to ask anything, you know? So it's literally that. It's also how to serve those people to make them feel so excited that they want to keep on going and keep on having a good time. And how to like what's really a big key is like if you're working in that side of the industry, like sobriety is important.
Yes.
While everyone's having fun, you know, you got to make sure that I mean, you're there to run a business.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of smoke and mirrors in that aspect. But if you constantly deliver incredible service and an incredible product in a room full of like oohs and ahs, all you got to do is work incredibly hard on your future programming. And you're working like, when you're talking about big DJs, sometimes you're booking them a year in advance. So like you're scaling these calendars, you know, every week. And it's a lot of work to your programming is done to where like, man, the machine never stops. It's a beast. And what happens is, and why you see a lot of places close down is a lot of people want to be cool and own a nightclub. But that doesn't mean that they're nightlife business people.
Yes.
You may have a lot of hedge fund guys. You may have people that are successful businessmen in all walks of life. And they're like, I know business. I'm going to do this. And they're getting robbed left and right by their staff. So while you see the place busy, then it closes down. But like, if you know how to operate, it's the same thing as a restaurant. If you know how to, if you're a real restaurant operator, you make money.
Yes.
There's a lot, but 90% of restaurant operators aren't real operators. They all lose money, and they'll keep it open for 5 years out of pride because they can't fail, but they just bleed bank accounts.
Yep.
You know, and it's really, with anything you do in life, there's no secret sauce. There's no secret recipe. Everything is fucking hard work.
Yeah. Damn straight.
It just is what it is. I was having this conversation the other day with like a guy who has an incredibly successful, actually, barbecue restaurant. He does Texas craft barbecue in South Florida. And he's like trying to open up his second one. And he was just like, man, because if I hired this person, if I hired that person, I looked down, I was like, buddy, you know what it's going to take? The amount of hard work and pain that it took you to open up that first one, you're going to do it all over again.
Well, and this one's going to even be harder unless that's where he plans on going and doing his day-to-day, because he's got to trust, at least at the first one, if that's where he stays, he knows he's oversighting there. But that second one, he's got to trust somebody enough to give them the keys. You know what I mean? That's the hard part. That's the really hard part about expanding beyond one.
Yeah, man. And, you know, I think food and beverage is like, people are incredibly more critical. You know, one of the best things that ever happened was Yelp, and one of the worst things that ever happened was Yelp, because everybody thinks they're fucking Anthony Bourdain, right? So, and now all of a sudden you have like, you showed up at a place and you're in a bad mood because of whatever happened in your life, and somebody didn't give you water fast enough, so you essentially tank somebody's restaurant online. And how many thousands of people read your shitty review, right? And like, it's such a, so you have to be so on it. And we're all human beings. People make mistakes. People have bad days. So like, you have to be so on it that if your staff slips a little bit, you're able to recover instantaneously and make up for it. And it's such a tricky thing.
Well, you brought up something there too that I think at all levels of business, especially right now, that is difficult, is staffing. You know, with what you have to pay staff, with what, you know, let's just be honest, this next generation of work ethic's not nearly as strong as the previous.
Oh man,
you know what I mean?
It's a very tough thing, and I have a lot of nieces and nephews, man, that I try to lecture a little bit, but everybody, I'll put it to you this way: I had somebody the other day tells me that I have a contractor who's working on my house, and it's really hard to like. I had to basically bring in a contractor from Miami to Tampa to finish working on my house. I was doing a remodel, and he was like, Eddie, just no one wants to fucking work, man.
Yeah.
I was like, how do they afford life? He's like, dude, it's like people don't want to leave their house for less than XYZ. They do shitty work. They think they deserve everything. And I'm still very, I think social media has made people impatient in life and set unrealistic expectations for the youth to think like, oh, I got to be balling, and why am I not a CEO yet? And like, why am I not at your position? I have people always tell me, well, how come I can't be your me? It's like, dude, you know the fucking pain I went through to get to this?
Yep.
And yeah, it sucks, but it's the only way I know how to respond to the situations I'm put in, because I had to fuck up and learn the entire time. If the keys were just handed to me, man, I mess up. I mean, it's why they say everybody that wins the lottery has a higher chance of losing it all, because they don't know what it took to earn that money. So they don't know what it's going to take to keep that money.
Yep.
And I feel like today's youth is kind of screwed, really. Like,
and I'll tell you, like right now, and I was telling my niece this the other day, she's just turned 16 and she's got a good work ethic. She wants to come here and work during the summer. And I said, look, if you keep that up and go on and do your thing in the medical field, like with just a good work ethic and just a killer mentality, you will go a very, very long way in this generation, because there's just not as many wolves as there have been prior. And there's a ton of things. Social media.
That is, by the way, that's a topic that I battle consistently here and with a lot of people, because I feel everybody has like parameters of what they consider as an influencer. And I fucking hate that title, but it is what it is. And for me, it's not, I tell people all the time, like, you're here for likes and hugs and thousands of millions of followers. Like, that means nothing. More than 70% of the people don't even get whatever you post. I mean, none of that. I've had more impact in my business with people that have 2,000 followers than people that have 3 million followers.
Because they're authentic.